what if the reason you haven't achieved your biggest life goal has absolutely nothing to do with your work ethic or, your intelligence?
Yeah, or even your strategy. That's a huge misconception.
Right. What if the real reason you just keep hitting this invisible wall has everything to do with, say, a shattered water glass you dropped on the kitchen floor when you were like 6 years old?
That is exactly the uncomfortable reality we are looking at today. I mean, we operate under this illusion that our adult rational minds are steering the ship.
When in fact the navigation coordinates were locked in decades ago.
Exactly. Completely locked in.
So think about this, right? Have you ever set a massive life goal for yourself? Maybe you were determined to finally get healthy, or you want to find a truly fulfilling relationship.
Or perhaps you're chasing financial freedom. That's a really common one.
Oh, absolutely. So you map it out, you read the books, you set the alarms, you put in the grueling hours, but then
Yeah.
you hit this invisible barrier.
Yeah, something just keeps pulling you back to square one.
You self-sabotage, or the opportunity just mysteriously evaporates. Today, our mission is to decode the secret language of your subconscious mind.
And it is a completely different language than the one we consciously speak.
Right. So we have a massive stack of pure, unfiltered, anonymous source material in front of us. No names, no institutions, just the raw mechanics of why we sabotage ourselves.
And crucially, how to actually rewrite that software.
Yes. So for this deep dive into the material, I'm going to be your enthusiastic guide and, frankly, your skeptic today. Because honestly, some of these concepts completely flip everything we know about personal development right on its head.
They really do. It's a total paradigm shift.
So set the stage for us. We think we are in control. Why aren't we?
Well, because we fundamentally misunderstand the division of labor in our own minds, the core premise of our source material is that reality is not shaped by conscious desire.
Wait, not shaped by conscious desire at all?
Right, not at all. Your conscious mind, the part of you listening to this right now, is essentially just the manager of your daily to-do list.
Okay, so it handles waking up, driving to work, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Calculating a tip at a restaurant, replying to emails.
Yeah.
But your subconscious mind is the executive board. It governs your fundamental life trajectory.
So the executive board is holding all the real power.
Always. It holds the core beliefs, the emotional patterns, and all those rigid, hidden rules that dictate what is and isn't allowed to exist in your life.
Okay, I have to challenge that division of labor immediately.
Oh.
Because, I know plenty of highly driven, successful people who have just willed their way to the top through sheer conscious effort.
Sure, the people who work 80-hour weeks.
Yeah. They didn't consult their executive board, they just ground it out.
Well, I guarantee you, if you look closely at those specific individuals, their subconscious programming was already aligned with the concept of financial success or achievement.
Oh, I see. So there was no internal fight.
Right. The friction only happens when your conscious goal contradicts your subconscious programming.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if your internal executive board believes that success equals danger, or that visibility equals rejection, you can work a 100-hour week and you will still find a way to burn the company to the ground.
Wow. So you'll subconsciously choose the wrong business partner or maybe suffer a massive health crisis right before the finish line?
Exactly. The subconscious will always win because, it processes millions of bits of information per second, whereas the conscious mind processes maybe 40 or 50. It's just a sheer numbers game.
We are completely outmatched, which frankly begs the question, who installed this overpowering software in the first place? How and when do these invisible walls actually get built inside our minds?
The code is written shockingly early. The text explains that the subconscious mind is primarily programmed by the age of 6 or 7.
Wow, that early.
Yeah. During those first few years of life, a child's brain is essentially operating in a state of continuous unfiltered absorption. They do not possess a critical faculty yet.
Meaning they aren't questioning anything?
Right. They aren't analyzing if a statement is logical or fair or historically accurate. They're just downloading the environment directly to their hard drive to understand how to survive in it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And here is the mechanism that changes everything. This programming is not coded through logic. It is coded almost entirely through emotion.
Wait, emotion is the coding language, not repetition, like, I don't know, learning the multiplication tables.
Well, repetition plays a part, but emotion is the ink. Emotion is the oldest evolutionary language we have. Let's go back to that shattered glass you mentioned at the start.
Right, the 6-year-old in the kitchen.
Exactly. Imagine a small child drops a glass in the kitchen. It shatters loudly. The parent, maybe they're stressed from work, reacts by harshly scolding the child, yelling or punishing them severely.
And the child obviously doesn't process a logical physics lesson about gravity and fragile objects.
Exactly. They don't think, oh, the coefficient of friction on this glass was too low.
Right, they just freak out.
Exactly. What they actually process, what gets deeply and permanently coded into their neural pathways, is the intense, overwhelming emotion of guilt, shame, or fear.
So the brain connects the mistake to the fear.
Yes. The child's brain associates the act of making a mistake or trying something new and failing with a profound loss of safety and love. That specific emotional response becomes a permanent fixture.
It literally becomes a line of code in the executive board's manual.
That's the perfect way to phrase it. And this leads to a phenomenon the text describes as the time freeze effect.
The time freeze effect, what does that mean?
It's crucial to understand. Unless this specific emotional code is actively identified and reprogrammed later in life, a person operates on the emotional logic of that frightened 6-year-old child for the rest of their days.
Are you serious? So we are all just walking around as overgrown toddlers?
Emotionally, in many ways, yes. You could be a 60-year-old CEO, highly educated, managing thousands of people, but when a situation triggers that original emotional code...
Like making a minor logistical error on a massive presentation.
Exactly. In that moment, it is not the 60-year-old CEO making your emotional decisions. The time freeze effect kicks in, and it is the terrified 6-year-old reacting to the broken glass in the kitchen.
That is a staggering visual. We're walking around in business suits, holding mortgages, but under the hood, whenever the pressure gets too high, a kindergarten-aged version of us grabs the steering wheel.
That is the literal reality of our internal architecture, and it brings us directly to the saboteur mechanism.
Ah, right. The saboteur. This is why we fail to reach our goals.
Yes, we tend to think of self-sabotage as this destructive, almost evil force inside us. But the subconscious mind is not trying to ruin your life. It is actually acting as an overprotective bodyguard.
An overprotective bodyguard.
Yeah. Its primary unyielding directive is to keep you safe. But its definition of safe is based on the rules it learned when you were 6.
Well, a bodyguard with the intellectual capacity of a toddler sounds like a recipe for absolute disaster.
It creates massive internal friction. Let's look at a common example from the material. Suppose your childhood environment taught you, maybe through observing your parents arguing, that money is the root of all stress.
Or that rich people are corrupt and lonely.
Exactly. Or perhaps you grew up in a household where marriage looked like a suffocating, miserable trap. Fast forward 20 years.
Your conscious mind today says, I'm going to start a tech company and build tremendous wealth.
Right. Or I'm going to find a loving spouse.
Yeah.
But your subconscious bodyguard steps in and reviews the old files.
And it says, absolutely not.
Yes, it says, I have the data right here. Money causes pain. Marriage is a trap. If I let you achieve this, you will be in danger.
So it actively deploys countermeasures.
Exactly. You procrastinate on the business plan. You pick unnecessary fights with a wonderful partner. You make a catastrophic investment. The subconscious genuinely believes it is saving your life by keeping you in your familiar comfort zone.
I have to pause here. This is like having an incredibly powerful, state-of-the-art supercomputer, but it's running on security software installed by a child who is terrified of the dark.
That's a beautiful way to summarize it.
The computer is functioning perfectly. It's just executing a flawed, outdated program. But wait, if these codes are trapped so deep inside us, locked away in the neural pathways, how do they manage to manipulate the external world?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. I mean, I understand making a bad investment myself. But how does my internal software dictate the kinds of people I continually meet, or the random opportunities that seem to just pass me by?
Well, to bridge that gap between the internal software and the external world, we have to look at the physics of emotion.
The physics of emotion.
Okay, you have my attention.
The source material presents a paradigm where emotions are not just abstract poetic feelings trapped inside your skull. They are measurable physical frequencies.
Like actual frequencies. Yes. Everything in the cosmos, including the human body and the electrical impulses of the brain and heart, operates on a frequency. Low-frequency emotions like guilt, shame, anger, fear create a dense, heavy magnetic field around you.
Hold on, we are moving from psychology into something that sounds a bit energetic. Are we talking about an actual measurable field?
We were talking about the principle of resonance. Think of how a tuning fork works.
Okay, I'm picturing a tuning fork.
If you strike a tuning fork calibrated to the key of C, and bring it near a piano, only the C strings inside that piano will begin to vibrate in response.
Because they resonate with the frequency being emitted.
Exactly. The universal law of resonance dictates that your baseline emotional frequency will attract and activate matching experiences in your environment.
So if I am constantly vibrating at the frequency of worthlessness or fear or victimhood, my energetic field is essentially sending out a continuous broadcast signal.
Yes. And that signal pulls in situations, circumstances, and people that match and validate that exact frequency.
Wow. So you simply cannot attract a high-frequency experience like profound joy or a harmonious partnership if your baseline emotional broadcast is anchored in fear.
You can't. The frequencies do not match. They physically cannot interact.
Okay, let's bring this down to earth. If I am unknowingly carrying around this low frequency of, say, I am unlovable, how does that actually play out in my interactions at a coffee shop or in a boardroom?
This introduces a concept from the text that completely shatters how we usually view relationships. It's called the mirror effect.
The mirror effect.
Yeah, the material suggests that other people are simply mirrors. We are conditioned to believe that external events or other people are the root cause of our emotional pain.
Right, because they do things that hurt us.
But the reality is, if someone insults you, dismisses you, or makes you feel entirely worthless, they are not the actual source of the problem.
Okay, let me push back hard on this. Are we venturing into victim blaming here?
I know it sounds like it, but no.
Because if my boss is an absolute tyrant, constantly belittling me and everyone else, you are telling me they aren't the problem. I am supposed to look at my own frequency. That feels dangerous.
That is a very crucial distinction to make. It is absolutely not about excusing abusive or toxic behavior. Their behavior is their responsibility, and it is a reflection of their own low frequencies.
Well, okay, good, because I was about to say.
Right. No, the mirror effect is not asking you to absolve them. It is asking you to analyze your reaction to them and why you were in their orbit in the first place.
Wait, unpack that for me.
Think of it this way. If you did not already have the subconscious code of worthlessness or the belief that you deserve to be punished, their insult would not find a place to land.
It wouldn't hook me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would look at a tyrannical boss, recognize their behavior as entirely dysfunctional, feel no internal emotional devastation, and immediately take cold, calculated steps to leave that environment.
Oh, I see. The fact that their behavior stings, the fact that it triggers a deep emotional reaction and keeps me paralyzed in that job, means they have hit a tuning fork inside me that is already vibrating at that frequency of worthlessness.
Precisely. They are merely reflecting a pre-existing wound that you already carry.
So it's not that I cause them to be a jerk. It's that my internal programming makes me susceptible to their jerkiness and perhaps blinded me to the red flags when I took the job in the first place because the dynamic felt familiar to my subconscious.
Exactly. And this reframing is actually deeply empowering because it leads to what the text calls the gift of the trigger.
The gift of the trigger.
Yeah. It suggests that we should actually cultivate a sense of profound gratitude for the people who trigger us, the ones who infuriate us or hurt us.
Gratitude for the people who make my life miserable. I don't know about that.
Yes, because you cannot heal a wound that you cannot see. These subconscious codes are, by definition, operating beneath your conscious awareness.
Right, they are hidden.
You don't know they are there until they manifest as pain. So the person annoying you or belittling you is inadvertently doing you a massive favor.
Because they are holding up a mirror.
Yes, they are pointing a blindingly bright light directly at the specific low-frequency emotion that you desperately need to clear from your system. They are showing you exactly where your 6-year-old self is still hurting and running the show.
Okay, that is profound. So instead of wasting all my energy fighting the mirror, arguing with the boss, trying to change their mind, complaining about them to my friends, I need to look at what is being reflected.
Exactly.
I need to ask, why does their disrespect feel so familiar to me?
Yeah.
Where is the old code?
That is the exact pivot required for transformation. And there is a fascinating, almost bizarre quirk of the subconscious mind related to this mirror concept.
Oh, what is it?
The subconscious mind does not possess the cognitive ability to distinguish between self and other.
Wait, what? It doesn't know the difference between me and the guy cutting me off in traffic?
Correct. The concept of a separate self and other is a higher-level function of the conscious analytical brain. The subconscious lower brain only processes the raw emotional frequency.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, if you look at someone else and fiercely judge them, let's say you see someone succeeding and you think, they are so arrogant, they are greedy, They don't deserve that.
Right, my conscious mind knows I am directing that judgment outward at a specific target.
Yes, but your subconscious mind does not process the direction of the thought. It only registers the emotion of judgment, greed, and undeserving.
You are kidding.
Nope. It adopts that heavy frequency as your own current state of being. So by fiercely judging someone else, you are actively lowering your own frequency. You are literally poisoning your own well.
That is terrifying. So gossiping or sitting around complaining about how terrible other people are is the ultimate form of self-sabotage. You are drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, but your brain just hears the negativity and assumes you are asking for more of it in your own life.
It is absolute self-sabotage. The subconscious is just an engine. Whatever fuel you put in it, it burns.
Okay, the stakes are incredibly high here. If the subconscious is this overwhelmingly powerful and it operates on these bizarre rules where it doesn't understand time, it doesn't know me from you, and it's obsessed with a broken glass from 30 years ago, how do we actually talk to it?
We have to learn its grammar.
Right. What are the grammar rules of this hidden language? Because clearly my conscious affirmations aren't cutting it.
The material outlines several very strict mechanical rules for communicating with the subconscious. Rule number 1 is paramount: no negatives.
No negatives.
Right. The subconscious mind does not process language the way our conscious linguistic centers do. The conscious mind easily understands negation. The subconscious mind, however, thinks entirely and exclusively in images, symbols, and feelings.
So it's like a highly visual search engine.
That is the perfect analogy. Let's explore the mechanics of that. If you go to an image search engine right now and type, "Do not show me pictures of red elephants," what is the algorithm going to do?
Well, it must first identify the keyword red elephant to know what to search for. So my screen will be flooded with red elephants.
Exactly. The human brain operates the exact same way through simulation. To understand the sentence, "I don't want to fail," your brain must first simulate the concept of failure.
So by saying I don't want to be sick, I am forcing my brain to vividly imagine sickness.
Yes.
Yeah.
The subconscious completely drops the don't want part because don't doesn't have a picture associated with it. You can't picture don't, you can only picture sick.
Wow.
So it registers the image and the heavy frequency of sickness and begins to align your physiological and external reality with that image. You are feeding it the exact blueprint of the nightmare you're trying to avoid.
That is completely wild.
Therefore, you must use purely positive framing. You cannot fight the dark, you can only turn on the light. You must state, "I want to be completely healthy," or "I am building robust financial abundance." You have to give it the image of the destination, never the obstacle.
It makes so much sense when you explain the simulation aspect. We spend 90% of our mental energy meticulously detailing exactly what we are running away from rather than what we are running toward. We are practically begging our subconscious to hit the wall.
We really are.
Okay, what is the next rule of the grammar?
Rule number 2 is the eternal now. As we touched on earlier, the concept of a linear future is a construct of the neocortex. The subconscious mind has absolutely no concept of tomorrow, next week, or 5 years from now.
It operates strictly in the present tense.
Strictly and entirely.
So all those New Year's resolutions that start with "this year I will" are essentially useless.
They are completely incomprehensible to the subconscious. Promising your internal executive board that you will be successful next year means nothing to it.
Yeah.
It is like telling a golden retriever that you will take them to the park next month.
Right. They do not have the temporal framework to process that delay.
Exactly. To the subconscious, there is only this exact immediate moment. If your internal dialogue is always, "One day I will be happy," or "Eventually I will be out of debt," the subconscious interprets that phrasing literally.
It hears, "I am not happy right now," and happiness is a state that is permanently pushed out into the distance.
Perfect, yes. Any affirmations, any internal reprogramming must be framed as if the desired reality is happening right now, in this very second. I am successful, I am at peace, I am healthy.
But wait, doesn't the brain know you are lying? If I am sitting in a tiny apartment with a negative bank balance and I say I am wealthy, isn't the conscious mind going to throw a red flag and say, "No, you aren't, look at the overdue bill"?
Oh, the conscious mind will absolutely argue. It will throw up immense resistance.
Yeah.
But the subconscious is not logical, it's experiential. It accepts the input if it is delivered with enough sensory and emotional intensity.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which transitions perfectly into rule number 3. Focus equals desire. Yes, the subconscious is highly efficient. It assumes that whatever you are focusing your attention on, whatever you are pouring your emotional energy into, is what you inherently want more of.
Oh no. This sounds incredibly dangerous for anyone who likes to vent about their problems.
Venting is arguably the most damaging thing you can do to your own frequency.
Really? Culturally, we are taught that venting is healthy, that it lets off steam.
I know, but energetically, it is catastrophic. When you sit around complaining for an hour about your terrible job or your lack of money or how unfair the world is, your subconscious is listening intently.
And it observes you pouring all this intense emotional energy and vivid imagery into the problem.
Exactly. Its cold, logical conclusion is fascinating. They are focusing on this constantly. They are generating huge amounts of emotion around it. This must be the primary goal.
So it thinks they must really want more of this exact problem.
Yes. And so, acting as a faithful servant, it proceeds to manifest more misery to match your intense focus.
It's just trying to do its job. It says, oh, you love talking about debt. You're so passionate about it. Let me get you a broken down car and a medical bill so you have more debt to talk about.
That is exactly how the mechanism functions. The reticular activating system in your brain literally begins scanning the environment for more things to be miserable about, filtering out any potential solutions because you haven't signaled that solutions are important.
So you have to ruthlessly curate your focus.
Ruthlessly. And that brings us to the fourth rule, which is perhaps the most profound psychological hack detailed in the text: the power of acceptance.
Acceptance. I'll be honest, usually when things go wrong, say I lose a client or my car breaks down, the absolute last thing I want to do is accept it. My instinct is to fight it, to get angry, to reject the reality of it.
And that biological instinct to fight is exactly what keeps you trapped in the problem. When faced with a crisis or an unwanted situation, our instinct is to resist. We get angry, we complain, we yell, "This shouldn't be happening to me."
But what happens internally when you do that?
This massive psychological resistance causes the subconscious to lock up. It triggers a sympathetic nervous system response, fight or flight. You are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, generating a tremendous amount of low-frequency emotion. Your perception narrows. You become rigid.
So by fiercely fighting the problem, we are actually getting stuck in it. We are blinding ourselves.
Yes, you are feeding the monster. But the material notes that simply saying the words, "I accept this situation," acts as a physiological override code.
Just those words.
Yeah. It shifts your nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. It causes the internal subconscious resistance to instantly freeze. The internal fight drops.
Wow.
Now, it is crucial to clarify. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It does not mean giving up or that you want the terrible situation to continue forever. It simply means you are dropping the mental friction of wishing the present moment was different than it is.
You are saying this is the current reality. It is happening. I acknowledge it.
Exactly. By dropping the resistance, you free up all that bound-up cognitive and emotional energy so you can actually look around for a solution.
I love that distinction. It is like if your car is stuck deep in the mud, if you just hit the gas pedal out of anger and scream, "I shouldn't be in the mud," the tires just spin, you create smoke, and you dig the car deeper into the rut. That is resistance.
That's a great example.
Acceptance is taking your foot off the gas, taking a breath, stepping out of the car, looking at the sinking tires and saying, okay, I am stuck in the mud. That is a fact. Now, where is a plank of wood I can use for traction?
That is a phenomenal analogy. Acceptance is simply taking your foot off the gas while you are in the rut. It is the absolute prerequisite for change. You cannot change a reality that you are currently refusing to acknowledge exists.
Okay, we're building a serious toolkit here. We know the rules. Absolutely no negatives because the brain simulates the image. Stay locked in the eternal present tense. Guard your focus because complaining is a manifestation trap. And use radical acceptance to stop the internal friction.
That's the grammar.
I am energized by this. This feels tangible. But here is the critical operational question. When is the best time to actually upload this new software? Because if I am walking around in the middle of a Tuesday, dealing with 100 emails, sitting in traffic, my conscious mind, my inner critic, is on high alert. It's armed to the teeth.
Right, the security guard is wide awake.
How do I bypass that security guard to rewrite the code?
The material provides a very specific neurobiological answer to this. You cannot force the code through when the security guard is awake. You have to wait for specific physiological windows where the guard is asleep.
Okay, what are those windows?
The text identifies these as the alpha and theta brainwave windows. The heavy reinforced doors to your subconscious swing wide open naturally twice a day.
Yeah.
In those hazy, groggy moments right after you wake up in the morning and right before you drift off to sleep at night.
Why those specific times? What is happening on a neurological level that makes us so vulnerable?
It has to do with the frequency of your brain waves. During your normal, active waking day, your brain operates primarily in a beta state. Beta is fast, critical, analytical, and highly doubtful. It is designed for survival and logic.
So if you try to tell yourself, I am infinitely wealthy in the middle of a stressful workday while in beta.
The analytical brain will instantly intercept that message, shoot it down, and say, no, you aren't. I just checked the bank account. You are lying. The new code bounces right off the armor.
Ah, I see.
But as you begin to fall asleep in that hypnagogic state, or as you are just waking up, your brain waves naturally begin to slow down. They shift from the rapid fire of beta into the slower waves of alpha, and then into the deeply relaxed state of theta.
And what happens in theta?
In these slower, hypnotic states, the critical, doubtful faculty of the conscious mind is entirely bypassed. The analytical filter drops. The subconscious becomes completely receptive and malleable to new programming.
So let's look at modern habits. If I grab my smartphone, the literal second I open my eyes, and I immediately start scrolling through the news, reading about global disasters or comparing my life to people on social media, I am basically downloading high-grade anxiety and inadequacy directly into my wide-open subconscious mind.
It is arguably the most destructive habit in modern society. Consuming bad news or comparing yourself to others while in a theta state is injecting poison straight into the vein of your executive board.
That is a terrifying thought.
Instead, the material suggests fiercely protecting those windows and using them for immersive visualization. And the method of visualization is critical. You shouldn't just casually think about your goals from a distant, abstract perspective. You need to spend 10 to 15 minutes doing vivid, sensory-rich mental rehearsals.
Sensory-rich, so not just daydreaming about a nice house.
Right. It must be a full-body, immersive simulation. A vital distinction made in the text is the difference between being a participant versus being an observer.
What's the difference there?
Well, many people visualize their goals by seeing themselves on a movie screen. They imagine watching themselves from the outside achieving the goal.
Oh, like a third-person video game.
Exactly. But the subconscious does not register that as your reality. It registers it as a nice movie you are watching about someone else. You have to be inside the body in the visualization. If you are visualizing driving your dream car, you do not look at yourself driving it. You look through your own eyes.
You feel the texture of the leather steering wheel under your hands.
Yes. You smell the distinct scent of the new interior. You hear the specific hum of the engine.
You have to trick the brain into thinking the event is actually happening right now in the physical world.
Precisely. Because, as we established, the subconscious cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined, sensory-rich reality and physical reality. The neuroplasticity of the brain reacts the same way.
So if the sensory input is strong enough, the subconscious logs it as a real, lived experience.
Yes. This normalizes the high-frequency state, dissolving the fear of the unknown and making it exponentially easier to attract and accept that reality into your physical world.
That leads right into the next idea, the physical world. Visualization is incredibly powerful, but we don't live in our heads. We still have to get out of bed, walk around our houses, and interact with the physical environment.
Yes, and that brings us to the crucial concept of acting as if. You must align your physical actions and your environment with your mental images to create a cohesive, undeniable frequency.
What happens if you don't?
Cognitive dissonance occurs when your internal vision doesn't match your physical reality, and the subconscious will always default to the physical proof. The text uses a brilliant practical example.
Let's hear it.
Suppose your goal is to manifest a deep romantic partnership. You are doing the visualizations, but your physical life is completely sealed off. You sleep perfectly in the middle of your bed. Your closet is packed to the absolute brim with only your clothes. Your schedule has zero free time.
Your physical environment is sending a blaring signal to the universe of no vacancy.
Exactly. The physical environment is actively contradicting the mental visualization. The subconscious looks at the closet and says, well, obviously nobody else is coming. There's no room.
So to act as if, you have to force the environment to dictate the new internal state. You would physically clear out half your wardrobe to make tangible space for them.
You might start sleeping on one side of the bed. You might buy an extra toothbrush and put it in the holder. You prepare the physical space for the reality you are calling in.
And how does the subconscious react to that?
The subconscious reads these definitive physical actions as undeniable proof that the event is happening. It anchors the frequency into reality.
I absolutely love that. It is practical magic. You are demonstrating to your own brain through undeniable physical action that you are ready. And speaking of physical actions, there is another daily ritual mentioned in the source material that I found totally fascinating, if a bit out there. The water technique.
Yes, this is a very unique tool that bridges physical action and mental programming. The ritual is simple. Before you drink water, especially your very first glass in the morning, you pause.
Instead of just chugging it down mindlessly while checking your email?
Right. You hold the glass, look directly at the water, and actively speak your positive intentions, your gratitude, and your desires into it.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here. Speak to the water. That sounds like pure superstition. What is the actual mechanism being proposed here?
It does sound esoteric, but the underlying logic presented in the material draws on the idea that water is highly responsive to its environment. Our bodies are primarily made of water.
Okay, that's true.
The theory suggests that water acts almost like a liquid crystal, capable of being structurally altered by the frequency and vibration of sound and focused intention.
So by speaking words of high frequency like love, profound gratitude, healing, or abundance into the water, you are theoretically altering its energetic structure.
Exactly. When you then consume that water, you are not just hydrating. You are internalizing that specific high frequency on a cellular level.
Interesting.
Whether you view it as literal cellular programming or simply a powerful psychological anchor that forces you to start your day with immense intentionality, it acts as a profound way to lock your mental programming into a physical act.
Okay, let's unpack this entire toolkit. We have the immersive first-person visualization happening in the vulnerable alpha and theta brainwave states. We have the acting as if by making physical space in our closets to eliminate cognitive dissonance. And we have the water technique to ingest the frequency.
It's a comprehensive system.
But I have to pose a massive challenge here. I can hear listeners saying, I have done all of this. What if someone is doing the 15 minutes of sensory-rich visualization perfectly? Their closet is half empty, they are whispering sweet nothings to their water glass every morning, but they still feel completely hopelessly stuck. The needle hasn't moved an inch.
That is a very real scenario.
What is the missing foundational piece? Why would all of those powerful techniques fail?
This is the most critical point of the entire discussion. All the techniques, the visualizations, the meticulous rituals, they will all catastrophically fail if they're built on a foundation of self-loathing.
Self-loathing.
The text identifies the single biggest roadblock to manifesting any good life as the worthiness barrier.
The worthiness barrier. Why is that the ultimate deal breaker?
Because it is the master switch. You can consciously desire $1 million, or perfect health, or a beautiful marriage with all your heart. But if you have a deep, hidden, subconscious belief that you are fundamentally flawed, that you are inherently bad, or that you simply do not deserve to experience joy,
The subconscious will step in.
your subconscious will absolutely shut down your progress right at the finish line. It will say, we cannot accept this abundance because we are not worthy of it. If we accept it, we are a fraud and we will be found out and punished.
Oh, wow. It goes right back to the 6-year-old child. If the 6-year-old was taught that they are inherently bad because they broke a glass or because they were too loud, they won't let the adult version of themselves accept a prize. They feel they have to earn their keep through suffering.
Exactly. You cannot build a high-frequency life on a low-frequency foundation of self-rejection. The material suggests that to survive childhood, most of us developed a secondary personality, a protective mask we wear to please others, to conform, to avoid criticism.
But beneath that heavy mask is our true, authentic self, which is often deeply wounded and suppressed.
Yes. If we are constantly rejecting that true inner self, if we're disgusted by our own vulnerabilities, no amount of positive thinking or water talking will override that core frequency of self-rejection. Imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, staying in abusive relationships, these are all just symptoms of the worthiness barrier.
So how do we dismantle that barrier? Because love yourself is the most overused cliche in the self-help world, and frankly, it's rarely actionable. How do we actually fix the worthiness deficit?
The source outlines a very intense, highly uncomfortable, but transformative practice: the mirror exercise. And to be clear, this is not about looking in the mirror and saying superficial affirmations like, I am beautiful, or I am a tiger.
Right. What are the actual mechanics of the exercise?
You stand in front of a mirror, and you look yourself directly in the eyes.
Yeah.
Not at your hair, not at your outfit, not analyzing your skin. You lock onto your own pupils.
Okay, that sounds intense already.
It is. And then you have to mentally bring up everything you hate about yourself. You acknowledge all your perceived flaws, your past failures, the things you are most deeply ashamed of, the times you hurt people. You bring all that darkness to the surface.
And then what?
And then explicitly, looking yourself dead in the eye, you say out loud, despite all of this, despite every failure and flaw, I love you and I'm going to find a way to support you.
Wow. That sounds agonizing. Most people avoid looking themselves in the eye at all, let alone intentionally confronting their deepest shame and then trying to offer love to it. My skin is crawling just thinking about doing that.
It is uncomfortable because it completely shatters the transactional conditions we place on our own self-worth. We usually bargain with ourselves. We say, I will finally love myself when I lose 20 pounds, or I will be worthy when I get the promotion, or when someone else loves me first.
But this exercise forces radical, unconditional acceptance.
Exactly. By holding eye contact, which stimulates the vagus nerve and can help override the shame response, you are committing to being your own greatest ally, regardless of external circumstances.
It is about forcefully dropping the inner critic. We are so astonishingly vicious to ourselves in our own heads.
We are merciless. The text uses a brilliant metaphor to illustrate this, which ties back beautifully to our earlier example.
Oh, let's hear it.
If you are in your kitchen and you drop a favorite expensive plate and it shatters everywhere, what is your immediate internal reaction? Do you mentally or even verbally abuse yourself? Do you call yourself stupid, clumsy, a total failure who ruins everything?
Honestly, yes. Most of us probably do. We say things to ourselves in that split second that we would never, ever dream of saying to another human being.
Exactly. But pause and ask yourself, if your absolute best friend was standing in your kitchen and they dropped that same exact plate, what would you say to them?
I would instantly say, oh my gosh, don't even worry about it. Are you okay? Did it cut you? Step back. Let me get the broom. It's just a plate.
Right. You would immediately offer them grace, compassion, and physical help to fix the situation. True high frequency begins when you can extend that exact same radical compassion to your own mistakes.
So stopping the self-punishment is non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Every single time you insult yourself, every time you call yourself an idiot for a mistake, you are driving your emotional frequency straight into the ground and reinforcing the worthiness barrier. You have to treat yourself with the exact grace you would instinctively offer a loved one.
So radical self-forgiveness is the absolute bedrock. Without it, the water technique, the visualizations, the vision boards, they are just a house of cards waiting to collapse under the weight of imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
Okay, let's assume a listener has really done this grueling internal work. They are chipping away at their worthiness barrier with the mirror exercise. They are visualizing, they are keeping their language positive and present. Let me ask a structural question about how this interacts with the real world.
Sure. Go ahead.
Because we don't live in a vacuum. Once we have done all this internal alignment, how do we handle the unpredictable, chaotic nature of reality? Life is still going to throw curveballs. How do we deal with massive failure along the way without spiraling back down into the low-frequency abyss?
This is where we move from the psychology of the subconscious into the broader physics of reality presented in the text. To handle the chaos of the real world, we have to adopt the concept of total surrender.
Total surrender.
And this requires understanding what the text calls the illusion of bad events.
The illusion of bad events. If I lose my job or my house burns down, that feels pretty real and objectively bad.
From a limited, immediate human perspective, yes, it feels catastrophic. But the material argues for a teleological perspective, that there is a grander balance and direction at play.
Meaning things happen for a reason.
More specifically, that an event that seems absolutely disastrous on the surface might actually be a necessary, albeit painful, mechanism for your ultimate growth. The text gives a compelling example.
Let's hear the example.
Imagine you are an entrepreneur and you lose 3 major lucrative business deals in a single week. The immediate logical reaction is despair, fear, and feeling like an utter failure.
Naturally.
But what if losing those 3 specific time-consuming deals was the absolute only way to clear your schedule and your runway for a massive, life-changing opportunity that was coming next month?
An opportunity that you couldn't have predicted and simply wouldn't have had the bandwidth or resources to accept if those other lesser deals had gone through.
Exactly. So it is about adopting the mindset that rejection is actually redirection.
Okay, I like that phrasing. Rejection is redirection.
But it goes much deeper than just a comforting bumper sticker platitude. It ties into a sophisticated concept called quantum branching.
Okay, lay this out for me. Quantum branching sounds like theoretical physics. How does it apply to my daily life?
Well, it borrows from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. The idea is that reality is not a single, fixed, predetermined path. Every choice we make, and more importantly, every emotional frequency we hold, creates a new branch of possibilities.
Yes, like a massive choose-your-own-adventure book, but with infinite pages being written in real time.
That is a great visual, and your internal frequency determines which page you automatically turn to next. Exactly. If you hit a roadblock, like losing those 3 deals, and you maintain a state of high frequency, trust, and surrender, you naturally align yourself with the most favorable subsequent branches. You stay open. You notice the new opportunity when it arrives.
But if you experience that loss and you plunge straight into low frequency,
If you stay up until 2 a.m. agonizing in a state of terror, obsessing over the injustice of the problem, complaining to everyone who will listen, fiercely fighting reality, you instantly drop your frequency. And here's where the architecture of the brain works against us.
because my frequency is low, my perception narrows, and I literally cannot see the high frequency solution.
Exactly. The solution exists. The new, better opportunity is sitting right there on a higher frequency branch. But because you are vibrating at the frequency of fear and lack, the solution remains entirely invisible to you.
Your reticular activating system filters it out as irrelevant.
You literally cannot perceive the path out because you are not an energetic match for it.
So agonizing over the problem isn't just unpleasant, it actively blinds you to the solution. That is a terrifyingly practical reason to prioritize your peace of mind above all else. You have to fiercely protect your frequency like it is your most valuable asset, because it literally dictates what options are physically available to you in reality.
It is your most valuable asset. Nothing is more important. And that brings us to one final crucial element to navigating the real world mentioned in the text. Once you have the frequency, you have to execute, choosing visibility.
Choosing visibility. We touched on how people hide earlier. What does choosing visibility mean in practice?
It is the ultimate antidote to the saboteur. Many of us, based on those childhood codes of needing to stay safe, have subconsciously chosen to hide. We learned as children that being invisible kept us safe from criticism, safe from our parents' anger, safe from the crushing weight of expectation.
If we stay quiet, if we stay small, we don't get hurt. It's an evolutionary survival tactic. The animal that blends in doesn't get eaten.
Right. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down, so we learn to keep our heads down.
Exactly.
But you cannot attract massive opportunities if you are energetically hiding in the corner wearing camouflage. If you want a thriving business, a vibrant, passionate relationship, or profound personal success, you must actively, consciously choose to be seen. You must intentionally shed that childhood desire to hide in the shadows.
You have to step out from behind the wall and risk the judgment.
You have to project the energy of someone who is ready, willing, and excited to participate fully in the arena of life. The universe cannot hand an opportunity to someone who is energetically broadcasting the signal, "Please don't look at me, I am not ready."
You have to claim your space. You have to own your inherent worthiness, radiate your high frequency, and be unabashedly visible.
Exactly. Visibility is the final key.
Wow. Okay. This has been an absolute mind-bending journey. We have covered so much ground here during our discussion today. Let me try to wrap my head around the massive paradigm shifts we have talked about.
Please do. It's a lot to synthesize.
We started by confronting the uncomfortable reality that our adult lives might actually be run by a frightened 6-year-old operating the control panel of our subconscious, using raw emotion as code to keep us locked in our miserable comfort zones. We learned the physics of emotion, that the universe is just a giant resonant mirror reflecting our own internal frequency back at us.
Right.
If we have a toxic boss or a bad relationship, we can't just smash the mirror. We have to look inward and change the code that made us susceptible to them.
That is the core realization. The mirror is just data.
We decoded the grammar of the subconscious. No negatives, because the brain simulates the image of what we fear. We have to stay locked in the internal present tense. We must ruthlessly guard our focus, because complaining is just praying for things we don't want.
And we use radical acceptance, taking our foot off the gas while stuck in the mud to drop the internal resistance.
Right. We talked about tactical reprogramming during those neuroplastic alpha and theta windows right before sleep and right after waking up. We talked about visualizing vividly through our own eyes and physically acting as if by making space in our closets to eliminate cognitive dissonance. And we discussed the profound ritual of talking to our water to anchor those intentions into our cellular biology.
It really is a complete ecosystem of tools.
But most importantly, the absolute bedrock. We learned that none of it works without dismantling the worthiness barrier through radical self-forgiveness. We have to stop treating ourselves worse than we would treat a stranger who dropped a plate in our kitchen. And finally, we have to surrender to the quantum flow, start blinding ourselves by agonizing at 2 a.m., and actively choose to step out of the shadows and be visible in the world.
That is an excellent, comprehensive synthesis of a very complex architecture.
To bring this all home, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought. There is a powerful allegory from our source material today that perfectly encapsulates everything we've talked about regarding the mirror effect and frequency.
It's a wonderful story.
Imagine a traveler arriving at the gates of a new town, carrying his bags, exhausted from a long journey. He stops and asks a wise local sitting by the gate, "Excuse me, I'm thinking of settling here. Are the people in this town good or bad?"
And what does the wise man say?
The wise man looks at him and replies with a question of his own. "Well, what were the people like in the town you just came from?"
Right.
The traveler scoffs, his face twisting with anger, and says, "Oh, they were terrible. They were deceitful, selfish, greedy, and cruel. That is exactly why I left."
And then response.
The wise man nods slowly and says, "I see. You will find the people here to be exactly the same."
A profound reflection of projection.
Exactly. Later that afternoon, a second traveler arrives at the same gate. He asks the wise man the exact same question. "Excuse me, are the people in this town good or bad?"
And again, the wise man asks, what were the people like in the town you came from?
The second traveler's face lights up. He smiles warmly and says, "Oh, they were wonderful. They were kind, generous, joyful, and always willing to help. I was heartbroken to leave them."
And the wise man smiles back and says, you will find the people here to be exactly the same.
The world is not a fixed, objective place happening to you. It is simply a fluid mirror of your own expectations and your own emotional frequency. The invisible wall blocking your progress isn't made of bricks and mortar. It is made of your own outdated codes. So the final challenge for you is this. What kind of world are you expecting to see when you wake up tomorrow morning?